Hi everybody, welcome. It's 9 o'clock on Monday evening. I am super excited about bringing this guest on with you tonight. I think I always say that I'm super excited, but tonight I'm really excited. A little fangirling, but I think it's okay. I'm totally cool with that. I have Karen Jeffries who's going to be on. She is the head of the woman behind, the force behind. I she is really the force behind. Let me get my thoughts together here. Behind Hilariously Infertile, and I'm just so thrilled to have her on here. We've been chatting a little bit for the last couple of months, trying to make this work. Here she is. Um, and Together. So I think she's coming on right now. So I can't wait for all of you to meet her. I've gotten a little bit of a glimpse into her life, as we all have. Here she is. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Um, so I can't. I was just saying that we all get these like little glimpses into your life, and I've also gotten a little glimpse into your life over the last couple of months that we've been communicating. And I've been trying to get you on here, and life has been crazy and busy, and I think like really like took us all for a loop, obviously, and in this world. So I please, without further ado, first of all, for those who don't know you, please tell everyone who you are.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I know I'm so glad that we were able to work this out. Thank you so much for, we had this plan and then I was like, Mayday, like shutting everything's shutting down. So I'm shutting down. And then now we're like, okay, we're pivoting. Like, I guess we're learning how to adapt. I don't know. It's like
Exactly.
evolution.
Exactly. Welcome to the new normal.
Yeah, exactly. So hi everybody, my name is Karen Jeffries and I am the author and creator of Hilariously Infertile, which is a book that you can buy on Amazon. It's also social media accounts, all around Hilariously Infertile. And I also do some comedy stand-up when we used to be able to go places. Um, in the proceeds for those go to infertility nonprofits. And I'm also a fourth grade dual language teacher outside of New York City.
And you've been, I mean, I just want to talk about that for 5 seconds because that's your quote unquote day job,
Yeah.
right? Day and night and day and night, which has been keeping all of us trying to balance and pivot and do all of these different things. And you've been extraordinary in terms of sharing all of your struggles about trying to be able to teach all of your students, but them not having enough devices and not having access to the different resources. So just I want everyone to know a little bit more about you and your day job too, and also for them if they want to come and be able to support your students. So please share a little bit about that, and then we'll launch into the other piece.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm a fourth grade dual language teacher, which means I teach all of my students are native Spanish speakers, and I teach half my day in English and half my day in Spanish. And the majority of them are free and reduced lunch. They all come from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And like very low socioeconomic backgrounds. And so when we first started doing distance learning, they were using their mom's phones or hand-me-down iPads and tablets and things like that. Some didn't even have internet. They couldn't get internet. We got them free internet through different service providers and things like that. But then my superintendent, a few weeks into it, was like, okay, like, obviously this is going to be for longer than just a few weeks. We need to start teaching new content. And when I got the news that we needed to start teaching new content, like I just shut down. Like I had a complete breakdown because I was like, how can you teach new content when some of the kids don't have access to technology? And like I just kept thinking in my head, I was like, public education is a free education for all children, like all children. And it just like it gives me goosebumps, like thinking about it. Like I just couldn't wrap my head around it. So my husband and I were sitting here and he just saw me so upset and he was like, well, can we do a fundraiser or can we do this? And I was like, maybe I'll start a GoFundMe. Like maybe I thought maybe I would get like my 5 kids who needed devices the most, Chromebooks or laptops. And we were able, with the GoFundMe that I started on Hilariously Fertile, we were able to buy 17 students brand new Chromebooks that they'll have those for life. It's not just, it's not just for COVID. They will have those Chromebooks to follow them. They're their own personal ones, and they'll have them for life. And I think it's just so special, because now going forward, we can, they can be treated in the same way as other students when they're in middle school and high school, that like, oh, well, when you go home on your laptop, instead of them being like, I don't have, like now they have it and it was really thanks to my followers. Like, people were so generous, and it was anywhere from like a $4 donation to $100 donation. Like, it was just like the generosity of pure strangers who they just knew that it was going straight to my students. And so yeah, I was really, really happy about that. So every single student got a new Chromebook.
Amazing.
Thank
Amazing.
you.
Is that link still active? Do more students still need, or your students are now taken care of?
Like, yeah, my students are taken care of, and any like other money, so you get taxed on GoFundMe's. So any, like, the rest of the money, because there was like a little bit of a cushion there, so that we're going to use to pay off the taxes that I will eventually get taxed on. But for now, everything's good with them. I mean, if I were to ever need anything in the future, yes. But I would just say, support your local charities or local nonprofits and your local PTAs and little things like that. Just, food banks, I think, are really important right now. And just, if you have anything to spread, you can spread it out that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, great. I can't even, like, as you were doing this, I kept thinking to myself, and it's exactly like, this is what it's all about, right? This is, and so many of my followers also, like, I have a number of people who are teachers, and they were absolutely, they kept getting stimulated. Like, how can we teach material to people who don't have devices? And like, this is the new normal now. And we don't know how long this is going to last. And so the pivoting has to happen. But in order for the kids to be able to get this new content, they need devices, or they need something more than what they had at home. And so I mean, I was just in awe. I was watching, and I was just in awe about what you were able to do for your students. And I just,
thank you.
It had to be shared here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know, I was really touched. I was so humbled. Like, I just thought that was like, just like so amazing. And I thought, maybe we get a few, and then my husband and I would, maybe just, we wouldn't be able to buy all the rest, but we would do like a good chunk. And I thought I would do it in waves and iterations. And I was completely blown away. And it was so nice. And the craziest thing, which I do want to add, is that when I was calling my students' parents, I told the parents first, and multiple families were like, well, if there's anybody else who needs, just let us know, because, it's okay. Like, we're sharing internet with our next door neighbor, and we have these things. And I was like, that's what gives me goosebumps, because I was like, no, like, you're the family in need. Like, you have 5 kids, you're all doing your work on your mom's cell phone. Like, you're in need, but they're just like the nicest people ever, that are just like, no, if there's any other parent, I'm like, no, you're the family. Like, you're the ones who are getting it today. And they're like, okay, thank you so much. Like, it's just like the nicest people ever,
Unbelievable.
So yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I mean, yes, you have this day job where I mean, an incredibly important day job where you're teaching children every single day how to manage in this world, giving them skills and doing all of that. And yet, in your own personal life, everything has not been always so smooth, and has not led you down that path to have children of your own. And so, can you sort of bring us back and tell us a little bit more about your journey, and how you landed here as, Ms. Hilariously Infertile?
Yeah, so it's so weird, like, looking back, like, I never knew I was going to need infertility treatments. I always look back to this one conversation that my older sister and I had. We were roommates together, and I remember her saying, like, being like, do you think you're gonna have a hard time getting pregnant? And I was like, no. Why? I was like, I devoted my life to children. I've always been a school teacher. I've always worked with kids, like, throughout the years. I was like, no, I'm not gonna have any problem. Why? And she's like, I don't know. I just had this really bad feeling. And meanwhile, like, her and her husband, no joke, they look at each other and they just make babies. Like, it's crazy. And and I ended up being infertile. So, like, I really wish I had known. I had no idea that I had PCOS. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I had no idea that I had that until I went to the fertility clinic. I was on birth control for a number of years, obviously. And then my husband and I started trying to get pregnant. And every month, like I wasn't getting my period, but I also was getting negative pregnancy test results. And I didn't really understand what was going on because there was no period, but there was no positive pregnancy test. So I was just really confused. I didn't even really understand. I mean, I knew how to get pregnant, but I didn't really like get it, or like I didn't know all the different options of what could be happening to my body at that time. So I went to my
And
gynecologist.
that's so common. I mean, it's like we all just think like, oh, we'll just have sex and get pregnant. Like nobody
Yes.
thinks that like, you know, there's actually like a thought process. There's a scientific method. There's like, you just think like, yeah, like I'm off birth control and like poof, like why isn't this happening?
Yeah. And like I was like, well, in seventh grade sex ed, like that's how it happened.
Right.
So
Right. What's the problem here?
so like I don't understand. So so my husband and I went to my gynecologist and she was like, this isn't normal. Like we're gonna start you on Clomid. I did a couple of rounds of Clomid. Like I would say 2 or 3 rounds of just Clomid and intercourse. Nothing happened. And then she called me on like a Friday at 4:45 or something in the afternoon and left me a voicemail that was like, I'm pretty sure that you have PCOS and I want you to contact the fertility clinic down the street. And by the way, like it's Friday, I won't be in the office till Monday. And I was like, what? Like I didn't know what that was, or like I took to Google and like I just my entire world collapsed. Like I just all I could see was infertility, infertile, trouble getting pregnant. Like I lost my mind. And then my husband came home and he calmed me down, you know, and he's like, just, you know, always rational and like, we're going to take it one step at a time. But also some part that I don't really go into that much in my book, but was definitely something on my mind was like, we had just gotten married a year or two prior to that. So part of me in my head was devastated about like this whole PCOS slash infertility diagnosis. But the other part of me was nervous. Like, what if I can't give him what we had promised each other, you know, like what if like he wants to like my body's effective and he wants a refund, like what if he's not going to love me if I can't make a baby, you know, because so much of what we had discussed, you know, before we got engaged and while we were getting married and things and after it was about building a family together. And I was really it was a major fear that I had, unwarranted, because like my husband is the most amazing man in the world and he would have gone through whatever with me, you know, but and I knew that then too, so I didn't know that then, but I just still got nervous, you know, like is there a lemon law for my for my for my body?
Right. I mean, I feel like, you know, most people in that scenario where, you know, you get engaged, you start dating, you get engaged, you get married, and you think it's going to happen quickly, or you think it's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think probably most people go through that sort of like, you know, running around in their head of like, is this actually like, is this going to happen? What happens if it doesn't happen? And what are we going to do about it? Like,
Yeah.
and right, exactly as you said, like, is he going to return me? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that like, you know, like not that this like the olden days and he has the right to return me, but at the same time, like is this going to put like a rift between us? Like we're never going to get back, you know, type of a thing. And so then I went to NYU Fertility Center in New York City, and I met my doctor, and he was very calming, which is good because like I'm not very calm, so he balanced me out, much like my husband does. And he just said, you know, you have PCOS, it's bad, but it's not horrible. It means you have a ton of eggs. And I remember the one thing that he said was like, I work with people who have PCOS all the time, and many of them end up getting pregnant and having healthy children. And that really like stuck with me because I was like, okay, so it's gonna work. And he's like, I'm never saying it's gonna work. Like, don't put words in my mouth, but I'm saying that this is common. So we started, you know, Clomid and IUI with a trigger. First round didn't work. Second round did work on the same, I had my insemination on the same day that then I got on a flight to go to Chicago because my sister had a baby 5 weeks early that then ended up in the NICU. So it was like crazy.
Goodness. Oh my goodness. Right.
So yeah. And
the
then
juxtaposition between all of these things of like,
yeah. Like she wasn't due for another 5 weeks. And I was like, well, I have an IUI today. Like it was just like crazy. And then my second daughter was after we did 4 IUIs, but it was actually 5 rounds of Clomid because the first round nothing happened. So we just like went straight up and bumped up to the next round. So it was 4 IUIs. After the fourth failed IUI, I decided, my husband supported me to go forward with IVF. And we went forward with IVF. I had one fresh transfer, and I actually had really great IVF results. I had 33 frozen, follicles, 33 follicles, and I had eggs taken out, I should say, eggs, not follicles. I had 33 eggs, and then I had 17 day 5 blastocysts.
Wow.
Which is a lot, which I didn't know. I didn't know that was a lot.
Right.
Because like Google existed. I joke that like Google existed.
Right.
Apparently I didn't use Google. I don't know.
Right. Right. I mean, people also say, I mean, in general, with all medical things, and myself, being a pediatrician, I think I'm allowed to say this, but like, you know, we always say, like, don't Google your symptoms. Don't Google your symptoms. Don't Google your diagnosis. Like, it's too much. So the fact that you didn't Google, I think, is actually a good thing. Brilliant.
Well, that's right. Like, everyone's like, why didn't you Google? I'm like, I think they say don't Google. So I didn't Google, but like, there were things I'm like, I should have Googled that. Like, you know,
in hindsight. Yeah.
In hindsight. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, 17 embryos, 17 day 5 embryos.
Yeah.
It was like almost unheard of.
Yeah.
Almost unheard of.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I was very surprised. And 33 is a lot too. I didn't know that either. I also joke that like, in addition to not Googling anything, I also, for some reason, for my IVF, not for my IVF, for either of them, but I hadn't discovered leggings. Like leggings, like regular, like leggings. Like I hadn't
leggings. Okay, so tell me why leggings were a necessity.
So leggings are so important, or anything with like an elastic waist is so important, because like when you do have your retrieval, first of all, you're bloated in general with like I gained probably like 10 to 15 pounds just on infertility medication alone throughout the months. And then when you have the egg retrieval, and especially when you have so many eggs taken out like I did, but really any egg retrieval does cause bloating. And I just remember like, I couldn't fit into any of my pants, like none of them. Like I just kept buying new like dress pants that are bigger sizes. And I hadn't discovered leggings. And it was 2014. Like leggings existed.
And also yoga pants. I mean.
Yeah, yoga pants I did have. But I didn't have any like leggings and like a baggy sweater, which is like what I lived in this quarantine. Like I didn't have it. So I was like, I don't know what 2014 paradigm like I was living in, but there was no Google and there was no leggings and it was awful. It sucked.
Totally sucked. I mean, someone's writing in her. She says, according to Google, she has cancer, she's dead, and she'll never have kids. Right. So one should never, ever, ever Google anything.
Exactly.
Except like if you need directions to get somewhere, I think maybe you could Google then, but that's basically about it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I do Google every year. I always end up having to Google like a couple of times a year, like how to make a hard-boiled egg. Like, but like more than I should admit. Like, I don't know why. I'm like, do you
meaning like the perfect hard-boiled egg, as opposed to like just put it in a pot and 20 minutes later it comes out and like there's green around the edges, the shells don't come off properly and like whatever. Like we need how to make a perfect hard-boiled
like
egg.
I just don't like. I always like I can make a poached egg. I make poached eggs every single weekend, but like hard-boiled egg for some reason like I like can't wrap my head around. Like do you put it in the water and then bring it? I don't even know. It's like a thing every year, like multiple times a year. I'm like, how do you make a hard-boiled egg again?
Okay, when you find the answer to that, if you could let all of us know, that would be helpful.
Yeah. It's in the alternate 2014.
So so I just need to know, how many pairs of leggings do you have now?
Oh my gosh, now I have like 8 pairs of leggings.
Okay. Just I wanted to make sure you remedied that whole situation, because now we're in 2020 and 6 years later, like a lot of things have changed. I just wanted to make sure that changed. Okay.
Yes, I actually like my entire, for the first like I think we've been in quarantine now for 10 weeks. So for the first, I would say 8 weeks of quarantine, it was like New York doesn't really have that great of weather in the early spring. It was like still really cloudy, and I was like, anytime that the temperature said like 50 degrees or less, I was like, it's gonna be leggings and a sweater. And it's like, I have the same sweater in 4 different colors, and I just kept wearing different leggings.
No, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, someone actually, like one of my friends recently, she's like, have you tried on your pants or your buttons yet? I'm like, not so much, and I'm not really interested. Thank you very much. Like, why did you need to post that? Why was that necessary? Like,
Why did you
Was
put
that
that in my
helpful?
head?
Like, was
Yeah.
that helpful at all for any of us? Not so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, so leggings and yoga pants, key for any IBS, any stims because of the bloating.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
very much so.
Okay, so 17 day 5 blasts. Then what?
We put one in, and that took. I knew that I was pregnant. My transfer was on Saturday. I woke up Wednesday morning, which happened to be Christmas morning, and I knew I was pregnant. But I didn't test because I was trying really hard not to and not to be crazy. Even though I mean, you are crazy. I am crazy, you know, but I tried really hard to like not
Yep.
be. And I waited until the appropriate time. We were actually in Puerto Rico when I took the pregnancy test. And it stuck. And that's my second daughter, Abby, who was actually born completely in the amniotic sac.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is very rare. Apparently,
very rare.
I don't know. I had to Google that.
Right, because you don't Google. Okay. As the medical person, I can also tell you, very rare.
Yeah, right? It's like one in like 80,000 or something like that, right?
Okay, so I don't know what those statistics are, but I know, and it's extremely rare, extremely rare and beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful. Did anyone take videos or pictures?
So no, because my husband and I like had this kind of like unspoken agreement when I deliver my children that like we don't take like a picture of like the vagina juice, basically, like, you know. And and but now knowing how rare it is, like I kind of wish that we had, you know. The doctor, like, she came out in like it was like a slip and slide, because it's like, for those of you who don't know, it's like a baby in a condom. Like, that's what it looks like. It looks like, you should Google it when we get off of here. But it's like a baby in.
Don't Google anything else, but Google that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a baby in like a balloon, like a clear balloon. It came out like, and she came out in 2 pushes, super easy. And then it was just like sitting in the sack, completely in the sack on the delivery table. And the doctor looked at my husband and goes, "Do you want to take a picture?" And he looked at me, and I was like, "Vagina juice." And, and like, that was the answer. And then the doctor took his like glove hand and ripped open the sack. And then my child came out. And like, we took our, pictures soon thereafter, but I was just like, no, like, but then I didn't realize how rare it was. And like, people, like nurses were stopping by for like the next few days, like to see the sack baby. Like, it was like, and we were like, I guess it is really rare. I mean, I wish I had taken a picture, and he said, like, right before I started to push, the nurse said it's in the sack. She started screaming, "It's in the sack, it's in the sack." And I was like, what does that mean? Right. And then
thinking that there's something wrong.
Yeah, what the heck? And then the doctor's like, it's okay, it's very rare, but it's very cool. And I was like, what? Like, that is not something that you think you're gonna hear when you're like very cool. When you're yeah, I mean, like, I understand that, like, birth is very cool, but I was just like, wait, what? Like, so confused. But yeah,
I highly recommend. There are actually YouTube videos of babies in their amniotic sac, and you can see the doctors. I've seen 1 or 2 where actually they're post C-section, so they're after a C-section, and the doctors are still in all of their garb, and right on the woman's stomach, they're able to pull the amniotic sac out. I know I am telling people to Google. I'm sorry. I'm telling people to Google. And then you see the doctors open it, and you can actually see the baby still moving inside that.
Oh, yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, you can see it. And you know what's crazy? When my husband and I, after this happened, like, I would show people pictures of it, and like, I would Google it. I would Google image it, and I would find this one picture, and I'd always show this one picture. And then my husband was telling me, he's like, "Oh yeah, I showed them the picture, whatever." And I was like, "What picture do you show?" Like, we kind of almost played like the newlywed game without even knowing it. I was like, when you show them a picture of it, what picture do you show? And he was like, "This one." And I was like, "Wait," and I got up my phone, and it was the same picture.
Wow.
It was the exact same image from Google Image that like we like when you put like baby in sack it was
Right.
the, and so like we both must have it like even though I was drugged up or whatever, you know,
Yes.
like that was what we saw because it's the
Yep.
exact same image, which I
Yep.
thought that was very interesting.
It is. I mean, it's this whole. I highly recommend that everybody does Google that.
Yeah.
I mean, but okay. So the question I have is, and everybody wants to know is, so that was 2014.
So
Yes.
that was 2015, yeah, because when she was born, yeah.
2015 when she was born, and hilariously infertile is
So
five
then
years old, right?
4 years old.
4 years old. So when she after she was one, which was when this
Yes.
started.
When she was like 6 months, I think I started hilariously infertile. Yeah.
Okay, so
So
tell me about that mindset and tell me how that all happens.
okay. So I was on maternity leave with my second daughter, and I was helping my husband and I were doing the dishes one night, and I was helping a friend of mine through her cycle and a family member of mine through her cycle. And I was telling my husband like way too many details he did not want to know about these women. And I was like, well, they're ready, so it's go time for them. And her follicles are at 17 millimeters, so I think it's time for her. You know, I told her to probably plan she's gonna have an IUI on Sunday. And my husband was reading a book at the time, and I don't remember what book it was, but it was kind of one of those like seize the moment, do what makes you happy type of books. I don't know. He's not really a self-help book guy, but it was like one of those. And he was like, you should write a book about this. And I was like, ha, and like that was it. Like, and he was like, no, for real, like you should really write a book about this. Like you're helping these members of our family. Like you could probably help people. And no joke, like I didn't even like think about it twice. I laughed him off. We went and like had a glass of wine and sat on the couch. Like that was the end of it. And then I don't remember exactly how long later. I feel like it was maybe a week or so later. During nap time, I just opened up my laptop and I started writing. And it just poured out of me. And it was very, very cathartic. And I remember reading it and being like, this is funny, which is weird because like it's about infertility. And I sent it to my girlfriend Jillian and I said, what is it? Because I didn't have social media. I still don't. I still don't have a personal Facebook account. I don't have any personal social media. Like, so I didn't have any social media for my personally. I wasn't someone who read blogs or did blogs or vlogs. Like I didn't do any of it. Like none of it. And my girlfriend Jillian did. And I was like, what is it? I was like, is it a blog or is it a book or what is it? I was like, is it just me having like a stupid journal entry, you know? And
And
she
this was just like this was a chapter. This was 14 paragraphs. Like what was that? Do you remember what that first
it was
was?
probably like a couple of chapters. I would say maybe it was like 5 pages, maybe 10 pages written on Word document. Like it wasn't a ton. I would say
Okay.
somewhere between 5 and 10 pages because I wouldn't have like overwhelmed her with like so much stuff, you know?
Okay.
Um, and she said, which was the best advice. She's also a teacher. She works with me. And she said, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter. Just keep going.
Wow.
And I just remember being like, that was just such great advice, you know?
Wow.
The type of advice that you would want a teacher to give your child, you know?
100%.
So I was like, okay. And I just kept going and it just poured out of me. And about 5 weeks later, I had what is now my book. Like there have not been that many edits of it since then.
Unbelievable. Five
And
weeks later. 5 weeks
5 weeks
later.
later, yeah, like it
And
came very,
unbelievable.
very, very fast. I mean, it's not that thick of a book. It's not like
Okay,
War and
but still.
Peace.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, I can make infertility funny. I can't make it that funny. Um, but so I showed it to my husband, and he's just as funny as I am, and he's definitely just as inappropriate as I am. But he's more like behind closed doors. He's more like reserved a little bit about his inappropriateness. And so when I showed it to him, he was like, "Okay, it's not really the type of book that I was thinking." And I was like, right, but Jeff, like, this is how women talk to each other. Like, if I go out to dinner with my girlfriends, this is how we talk to each other. It's raunchy. It's nitty gritty. Like, we'll sit there and talk about discharge in a crowded restaurant, like, when we could. But like, it's not. This is how real women talk to each other. And he was like, I like it. And so then I tried. I didn't know, again, because I'm just like a school teacher. So I didn't know that you have to be like famous to get a book published or know someone famous to get a book published or something. So I just started like,
World of publishing. Yes.
right? So I just started sending it out to literary agents and publishing houses in and around New York City where I live. And I either didn't hear anything back or I heard back, we just don't think it's a big enough market. And that to me was what just fueled my fire because I was like, no. And I have two screens in my home office. And so I was looking at the email saying we don't think it's big enough market. And I was looking at numbers from the CDC, which I know are only even representative of claimed infertility cases, you know, through insurance claims, not people who are doing this out of pocket, don't have insurance, or are just trying at home and don't even know that they have infertility.
I was going to say, there was just a loud motorcycle that just passed by my house. So, okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So I was like, this is wrong because that if they don't think it's a big enough market, then that means no one's talking about it. And if no one's talking about it, then that means people are just at home suffering in silence. And I was like, well, we can't have that. So that's when I just kept going. And one of our friends was like, you know, you need to start social media. You need to get on social media. And this is what you have to do. And I was like, ew, no, I hate social media. And he was like, Karen, if you want to help people, this is what you have to do. So I started the website, I started the social media, and I put a couple chapters of my book on the website. And I remember like the first few weeks, like I had just gotten like, a few, maybe it was a month or two later, I had like 300 followers. And I was like, whoa, like I still think that's huge. Like having 300 followers, like that's still a lot, you know? And I was like, 300 people like this and it's helping them. And like, I'm making a difference in their lives. And they were writing me and telling me that. And that to me was just like, and I was like, if that's all it is, if I just have helped these 300 people, then that's good. And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it is what it is today, which is still mind boggling to me. Like, I'm still like, this doesn't really make any sense, you know, but
I think so I mean, there's so much to say and so much to ask, but my first question to you is, why was it your friend who said you should be on social media? Why did that person say Instagram as opposed to some other forum?
Did he say Instagram or?
Yeah, I'm assuming because this is where.
Yeah, he did. He did say
right.
Instagram. He said mostly Instagram. He said Instagram and Facebook, but you need to be on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I don't know. I don't know why he said that, but I think that he just knew that like this was how it was going to grow. He was like, you can't just get a book published. You have to start having some sort of a background. You need to build a following. And that ended up being exactly what we did. I say we, meaning like me and my husband and like my good friend who helps me sometimes. You know, we just built the following and everything. And everything that I've done on my social media has really been very follower driven. Like in the beginning, they were like, you know, we need more chapters of the book. We need more chapters of the book. So I was like, okay, like I'll publish the book. And so I published the book 2 years ago. And then they're like, made these t-shirts. Like, we need those t-shirts. I was like, okay, like I'm making t-shirts now. Like apparently I make t-shirts, you know, like, oh, and then it's like, I was doing some of these public speaking events for fertility clinics and for drug companies. And they're like, we need to see that. And I was like, okay. So it's been very like, you know, what they really say very strongly, and I listen.
They meaning who? Who's they?
I would say my followers.
Okay.
Yeah. They meaning my followers. Yeah, okay. You know, because I see in the comments and the DMs and the emails, like you really need this. And after I see like thousands of them, I'm like, okay, that's what, you know, my followers would like. And as long as that's something that I agree with and that it fits my platform, then I do that. So, but it's really like, I'm not ever like, ooh, I should really go into like the lip gloss business. Like, no one on my platform is like, hey, Karen, you should go into the lip gloss business or like do makeup tutorials because like I suck at makeup, you know. It's like that's never gonna happen. So yeah.
Well, maybe it should happen because that would also be funny, but not.
Yeah, it would be funny. I'd be like, I don't know how to do this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess the question is, who comes up with the content? How does it happen? Who creates the graphics? Like, give us all of sort of the backstory.
It's all me, pretty much. I used to have my niece in the first few years. I didn't, well, in the very beginning, I didn't know what a hashtag was. Like, I didn't know anything. So she kind of helped me get on my feet with that. And then in the beginning, she was helping me posting so that I could really still focus on school and helping me find content and stuff. But then she has since moved on with her life and her journey, which I was so upset with. Not upset, like I was just like bummed out, you know,
Right. Of
because
course.
she's just the best. And but yeah, so I find things on the internet and I post them, or I just make them on my own and I post them. And it's just the majority of the stuff that I post is like because of conversations that I've had with my husband, or that I've had back and forth with followers, or that I've had with my friends at work, you know, like that's the majority of the inspiration. Or if I've had a rough day, I'm like, I've had a rough day. Like I did a post tonight about how last night I had like a migraine and I lost feeling in my tongue. And so then today I did like a post about that thing from 21 Jump Street when he's like, put your tongue back in your mouth, like that. Cause that's how it felt. Like I was like, I can't feel my tongue right now, but it came back. So, you know,
Right.
so it's just regular, like very, with like comedy, I guess, like, or whatever it's called. Like, it's just like, it's just about my life and the silly stuff we get into, but a lot of people relate to it.
Absolutely. And how does being that your husband, like I noticed that there every now and then you'll like post like some sort of like chat between you and your husband, and knowing now that he, a little bit what you shared about him, that he's more of the reserved type. I mean, he's obviously hysterically funny, but he has that piece of his personality. How does he feel about being, blasted to 72,000 followers, about the fact that he commented on, I'm forgetting what the last thing was, but whatever, like, how does he feel about this piece? Because I know the way my husband feels when I comment about something that's going on here. So I'm just curious about what he thinks.
There were times in the beginning where I would talk about his and my like sex life or something. Cause like sometimes I'll like just I'll like just text my husband like one emoji and he'll text me another, and that means like we're gonna have sex tonight. You know what I mean? And it's like it's like the most immature thing ever. But like sometimes I'll be downstairs in the office and be like, hey, and he'll be like, hey, and like whatever. So I remember in the very
sounds familiar, by the way. We have a similar thing. But yeah keep going.
So in the very beginning, I like posted that because I was like, this is how we talk. And he was like, that's about our sex life. Like, you can't post that. And I was like, okay. And I took it down immediately. But he knows he has carte blanche to veto anything. I mean, within reason, if I was like, no, like this really means a lot to me, I'm doing this for whatever reason, then we would probably just have a talk about it. But he knows that he is my line in the sand always. And I always check if there's something that's about him, not like a post like happy anniversary or happy birthday or anything like that. But if it's something where I'm like kind of making fun of him, I'll be like, are you okay with this? And typically he is. Or sometimes he'll be like, or he'll be like, I'm okay with that, but I don't think anyone's gonna think that's funny. And I'm like, no, it's okay. They'll think it's funny. Right. Yeah. Like I think one of the more recent ones there were two most recent ones. One was I'm like the handy one in our family. Like I'm the one who does all the.
Yeah,
you
too.
are?
Me too. My husband can't change a light bulb. Like,
no.
Yeah. Okay. No. Yes. Okay.
So I'm like the one putting all this stuff together, and oftentimes he'll be like, can you help me with this? I need help with this, whatever. And so the other day he was like, babe, do you mind helping me with this? I'm having a hard time with this. And I was like, yeah, what's going on? I come over and he hands me like the instructions to Sorry, like the game. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, I'm having a really hard time with it. I was like, this is Sorry. Like, this is not that hard. And then I was like, and he's like, but how am I supposed to remember that the 4, you go backwards, and the 11, you go forwards, or whatever? And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, look at the cards. It's written.
On the card.
It's on the cards. And he was like, oh, that makes it so much easier. And so the best is when I showed him that post just to make sure that was okay with him. He read it and he goes, was it Sorry that was the one? And I was like, I love how that's what you came to. Like, that was the answer. Like, not like, no, that didn't happen, or no, I don't want to. It was like, was it Sorry or was it Uno that I couldn't figure out, So yeah. Yeah. He's funny. He has these funny one-liners. The other one that I posted recently is like, I gave him some checks the other day and he goes, like 2 weeks later or like a week later, he was like, do you remember what pants I was wearing when you handed me those 2 checks last week?
I don't remember that one. Yes. You're like, what is that even about?
No, like I don't happen to remember what pants you were wearing last Tuesday. And if you put the
Because he's missing the checks and
because he's missing the
now,
checks.
right.
And I was like, but next time I hand you a check, I will make sure to look at your pants and
Yes,
see what you're wearing.
and take a picture of it so that I will, yes.
Because I need to have space in my brain for that.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Right.
But
right.
he's the best. He's so good natured and he's such a great, like, you know, easygoing guy. So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so tell me more, like tell me more, like what are people wanting from you? Like what is there left to do? I mean, look, I also want to hear, I mean, okay, there are 1,000 things left to do, let's be clear, but and I also want to make time. I want to hear about the nonprofit that you give money back to towards. I want to hear about that too. But in this space of like, yes, I mean, there's always more content. I mean, I don't think any of us run out of content. I mean, people talk to me all the time and they say things like, how are you constantly, getting stuff? And I'm, less than a year into this and you're, more than 4 years into it. And I keep saying, I have content as of this moment that I could run for the next year and never repeat anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it's just that rich.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wish it was less, less content rich, but unfortunately there's so much there that people are suffering and there's hysterical things that need to be said. So there's so much. So I guess the question to you is, what else? I mean, there's a book, there's speaking, there's the nonprofit that you're associated with.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else is left? What's on the horizon?
So before everything shut down, I was starting to do these infertility comedy nights, and I did one in New York City that was sold out in June of last year. Yeah, actually, it was almost coming up on an anniversary. When it's just basically me on stage, is telling my story. It's an hour-long stand-up comedy routine that basically is just my entire story from finding out that I wasn't fertile until having my second child and everything that happened in between. And it's funny and it really brings people out and gets people talking and gets people laughing about it. And the ticket proceeds for those go to Baby Quest Foundation, which is a great nonprofit organization that helps give financial grants to people who are going through infertility in the United States. And then I choose a local nonprofit as well. So when I did the one in New York, it was just Baby Quest, and then I did one in Boston in like November, and I paired up with Resolve New England and Baby Quest, and we kind of split the proceeds there. And what I was hoping to do is kind of start taking it across the country a little bit, which is hard because it's hard to really organize those, because like I'm the one who does everything and still teaching and still being a mom. So, getting the corporate sponsors, getting the venue, getting the ticketing, getting the this, getting the that, marketing, stupid stuff like the step and repeat that like you stand in front of, to take pictures,
Yes.
red carpets. I mean, like literally everything. I do everything. So that it's a lot to put on, and it's very, very stressful. So I was, hoping originally to do another one, maybe in the Midwest, like in Chicago, because this is like how grassroots this is. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, Larry's infertile. I'm like, no. Like we did it in New York because I live in New York. And then we did it in Boston because my husband's whole family's from Boston and like we can stay at their house,
Yes.
And then I was thinking we'll do it in Chicago because my sister lives in Chicago. I'm like, this isn't like, I'm not like on a tour bus going across the country.
Next stop, Vegas. Yeah.
Exactly. But I really think it's important. I mean, I would love personally to be doing this in front of like large audiences, large venues. I love public speaking. I love getting people to laugh about the obvious, but like super inappropriate stuff. Like I've always kind of talked about the thing that no one talks about that's really inappropriate. I'd be like, why isn't anyone talking about this? Like whether it's like a fart or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Like I'd just be like, why aren't we talking about it?
Yep.
So I love that. And I love bringing people together. And for the both shows in Boston and in New York, like girls like were buying my t-shirts and they were like, yay, and like smiling. I know some people, they they like met up in the comments section on Facebook of Hilariously Infertile. They met up and they started, you know, commenting back and forth, and they're like, oh, well, I was gonna go with my husband, but then he had something to do that weekend, so I don't have anyone to go with. And this other group of girls was like, how about you come with us? And so they ended up like making friends and like going together, and they got dinner beforehand, and like and they I thought, I was like, that was amazing. Like I can't believe that happened. And then there was like people from Nova Scotia
Whoa.
drove down to Boston.
Wow.
I know. And they got like a VIP, like I did like a VIP package so they could like come and meet me afterwards and get some signed books and get a t-shirt and whatever. And they're like, yeah, we drove down from Nova Scotia. And I was like, how long of a drive is that? And they were like 10 hours. And I was like,
Oh my goodness.
why? Why did you do that? And they're like, to see you. And it was just like, it was so amazing, and it was so sweet, and it was very, very humbling to meet these people. And you know, now I feel like I, you know, have a connection with them, which is great. So yeah, so that's what I've been, you know, would like to do. But yeah, I mean, I would say like really just minor infertility world domination.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I also did start a like a parenting page only while we started quarantining, because I was like, you know, I do have some parenting things. I don't post to it that much because my focus really is hilariously infertile, and sometimes, especially recently, there are days where I don't have time to even post to hilariously infertile. I'm definitely not posting to hilariously parenting. But there are some things I'm like, you know, this is okay to feel like this, and this is okay to feel like this, and like this is happening, and this is great. And I don't show my kids' faces on it because I'm very strict about privacy for my children. But yeah, so I also started that. So I think I'm just trying to branch out a little bit. I'm writing another book right now,
Are
also,
you?
but it's going to take a lot longer to write. It's totally different. I don't even know if I'll ever publish it or not, but yeah. So just keeping lots of different things in the works and keeping busy.
Look, any clue as to that you want to give any of us about the topic or the general overall theme?
Yes, so it's about like my really bizarre, like totally dysfunctional childhood.
Phenomenal. We all can relate to that.
So yeah, it's one of those stories, and what inspired me actually, I don't know if you've read Educated. I forget.
Pieces of it, but yes,
Yeah,
not
I
the whole
forget
thing.
the author's name, but I remember reading that for a book club that I'm in my neighborhood. And the first like few chapters, I was like, my life was crazy, you know? Like I was like watching her and her life story, and like she has this like really volatile father figure, and I'm like, I have a volatile father figure, you know what I mean? I'm like, my life is crazy. Like I have some crazy stories. And so like it's crazy enough that like when I tell people, they're like, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, no, that did, you know? And so it's like, that was what inspired me to write this next book. But it's definitely not being written in 5 weeks, like Hilariously Infertile. It's much longer, and it's much harder for me to go to it and to write as much because, you know, Hilariously Infertile had a very happy ending. I had two girls, and I knew I was helping people through that. This is like, it's a little bit, it's still funny, and it's still, you know, really just raw and like me, but it's also, for me, it's harder to do all the time because like it kind of brings me sometimes to a dark place depending on what I'm writing about. So it's going to take longer to write for sure.
Of course, and also obviously in this environment, I don't think any of us have, you know, that amount of time. Like even I think 5 weeks to. I think in today's day and age, if you would have started hilariously infertile, I'm sure you wouldn't have been able to finish it in 5 weeks either, because like none of us have time to breathe at this point. So
Yeah.
okay, we all, when you're ready for it, when and if you're ready to publish that, we're all looking forward to reading it. But look,
Yes.
I mean, you're 100% right. It's I think, you know, the pieces when you start to dig deep and when you start to get personal, then those are the pieces that can be traumatic, especially
Yeah.
when like to start to dig back after all, like spending time and thinking about like all the things that you've overcome, and then to try to uncover them again is
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah.
I'm wishing you lots of space and lots of time to be able to process and write and still be a functional human being. That's all I'm saying.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what, I mean, like in closing, I first of all, I can't really, I just can't thank you enough. Knowing that all of our time is so limited, but that so many people really wanted to get a little bit of a glimpse of as to who you are and this force behind Hilariously Infertile and sort of what drives you and what,
Thank you.
you know, what keeps you going. I you know, what are some of your like last parting words to this audience, your audience, my audience, everyone who's still in the thick of it, like your thoughts about the current situation and moving forward? You know, give us your, you know, 5 seconds on that. So, you know, and make it funny, please.
Okay. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
No pressure. No pressure.
no pressure, none.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing for me when going through infertility treatments is just knowing that you're not alone. I know that I felt like I was alone because I didn't have social media and I didn't have, I mean, I had my husband and I had like some friends, but I really didn't have that many people who had gone through it. And I could explain it to them, but they didn't really get it, you know? And so I think that, you know, using social media as an outlet to connect people, I think is amazing. And it will show you and show other people that you're not alone. Like you're, even if your situation is so specific and like crappy and shitty, like you're
Yep.
still not alone in that. There's someone else who's probably going through the very, very similar situation or has already or is about to, and you can be their support group. So
Yep.
I think that, you know, that's always my biggest message, that you're not in this alone. You don't have to be going through this alone. And as far as right now, in terms of the COVID, I just, I mean, this was such a huge blow to people going through infertility. You know, it really was. Every month is like such a trek. I don't like using the word journey because I think it's like journey reminds me of like eat, pray, love, and infertility is not eat, pray, love,
Very much not.
you know. And I just, that's why I call it a trek instead of a journey, because like you just get back, you get knocked down and then you get back up and you keep climbing, and you get knocked down, you get back up and you keep climbing, and it's really, really hard. And so I think that what this has shown people is that, you know, how much we do need those not elective surgeries, which that actually really pissed me off that it was called elective. For that's like a side note. But I think it is so important to, you know, once things start opening back up wherever you are, if it hasn't already, you know, to go forward with your treatment and to consult your doctors, because it really is what we're, you know, what you're but it was something about how like children have really just like accepted all of this with such grace and dignity, and some are struggling with this transition to at home, but like they wake up every day and they're like, okay, I'm doing school from home, you know what I mean? And like
Yep.
if you think about what's being put on children right now, like it's
Yep.
so hard on them. And like when I saw that quote, it filled my eyes with tears. I was like, that's why infertility treatments are so important, because like people want to have children because children are the future. And like I know it sounds so Michael Jackson-y,
They're
you know, but like
resilient.
or
Yep.
whatever, like Live Aid, but like it is like it really, like they really are amazing. And I think that that, you know, I don't want to say don't give up, because sometimes giving up is the right thing to do. And
Correct.
I'm not saying don't give up, but you'll know when it's right for you. And I just think it's so important to, this is my last thing. Sorry, I'm like in 5 seconds.
Nope.
I
All
think
good.
that, you know, it's so important to know how strong you are. I think that one thing that sometimes happens with females, even in 2020, is that you get pigeonholed into being, you know, oh, I just cry a lot, or oh, I just this, or I can't do that, or I can't do this. And like, if there's, if Hilariously Infertile has taught me nothing else, it has taught me the unyielding power of females in general. They're so strong. They're so much stronger than men.
Yes,
Like
we
so much stronger. It's like it's crazy.
are.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's just like, and not just physically, endurance wise, but also emotionally, psychologically. Like women are just like we are a force to be reckoned with. And I always tell people, like, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to say it's going to work out, because I don't know if it's going to work out or not. And
Yep.
I hate that, and it's a bullshit answer.
Yep.
But I will tell you that, like, you can, if you want to keep going and doing this, you can do this, and you are stronger than this. And if you choose to stop, that doesn't mean that it beat you. That means you chose to stop. you know, for different reasons. And just that, you know, harness that strength and know that, you know, you can have bad days and you can have days where all you want to do is wallow at the bottom of a wine bottle and get in PJs, because we've all been there, and that's totally fine. But just know that you are stronger than this and you will get through this. And yeah, that you will get through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the message for all of us. I think that we've all shown through this process, your community, my community, this whole community has shown how resilient they are, that they keep getting these hits and they keep getting back up again. And yet, and you're exactly right. Sometimes it's enough, and sometimes it's absolutely, if it's too much for you, then it's okay to say, no, I'm done. And that in and of itself also takes a tremendous amount of strength.
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of strength.
Yeah.
But we all have this resilience, and we all can do much more than we think we ever could do. So I love that. I love that. And I think it's such an important message for this community.
I remember one of my best friends, she's a character in my book, but she, after doing infertility treatments, which was not in the book because that was post me writing it, she went, I don't even know how many transfers she went through. She was suffering from secondary infertility, and she got finally to the end of her last transfer, and she was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. And she was pissed, and she was angry, and she was all the feelings that you would be feeling. And I looked at her and I was like, congratulations. And she was like, what? And I was like, congratulations. Like, that's a huge milestone to come to. Like, you came to that conclusion that you're done. And I'm really happy for you, because now you're not doing that anymore. So congratulations. Now you can start focusing on that. And she was like, she went home and she told her mom, she's like, Karen said congratulations. And her mom's like, okay. She's like, I think I really liked that. Because like she needed to hear that. And it wasn't like contrived or anything. I was like, well, that's great news. Like, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. It wasn't that infertility beat her, that she lost or whatever. It was just like, she's come to this fork and this is her choice. And I was really happy for her for choosing that. And if she would have said, I'm going to keep going, I would have been like, I'm really happy for you for that. And like, you know, it doesn't make her any less of anything or whatever. And so I remember she was like, thanks. Like, that was, you know, for her, it was very supportive to hear.
Amazing. So to all of you, we're also, Karen and I are both saying congratulations to all of you.
Yes.
For all of you for being here, for all of you for continuing on whatever journey you're continuing, or deciding that this journey is just not for you anymore and you're moving on. We're both saying congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank you. Thank you, Karen, so much for being here, for giving to this audience. I know they all appreciated the comments came in, and I was getting them before, and I'm sure I'm going to get them afterwards too. Thank you so, so much. Just continue to be able to inspire this community, inspire your family and your students. It's look, what you're doing is remarkable, and we're all just along for the ride. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys. Good night. This will be saved. This will be here for 24 hours, and then it'll be on YouTube afterwards. So,
oh, fantastic. How do you do that?
We will talk about that later.
Okay. I was like, I don't know how to do that.
All right.
I'm like the worst social media influencer. I'm like, I don't know how to do anything. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. Okay. All right. Good night, everybody.
Have a great night, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.